What's up, everybody? It's me, Giselle, aka Dr. Jazzy Fit. Welcome to my channel. We have with us the illustrious Erica James Strayhorn, and we are going to be talking about self-care, but in a way that's going to help you actually get through this quarantine or whatever situation, because we know things on YouTube are evergreen. So this might be the year 2025 when you guys are watching this. But we're recording in 2020 during the COVID outbreak. And people are literally going insane in their homes. We want to empower you guys and be able to use that motivation and that love for yourself to be able to create beautiful things, not just for yourself, but being able to show love to people who are hurting. The reality is that many people are dying. People have lost jobs. People don't have food or things to eat. So let's talk about how we can use the love that we have cultivated or we are cultivating for ourselves in order to not only survive this quarantine, but also come out better on the other side. So, Erica, thank you so much and welcome to my channel.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I love self-care. Like it, for me, even with the clients I see, self-care is the foundation for healing. Because as you said, the most important relationship is the one you have with yourself, and self-care is an amazing way to cultivate and nurture that relationship. A lot of times we seek relationships, either romantic or friendships, because we're seeking to be complete. We're seeking to be whole, to be made whole from this other person or these other people. And really what we need to be reminded of is that we have everything that we need within ourselves. We are complete, we are whole. And it's when situations like COVID-19 happen that kind of trick us into thinking that, we're not okay, and some of us are not. So I'm not even going to try to deny that. Some of us are really having a challenging time being at home, being stuck at home, so to speak, and seeing so many people dying and understanding that people are really ill, lives are being lost, and there's a lot of grief happening. I think we're grieving the lives that are being lost, and we're grieving the way of life, the way it was before all this, and not really being sure of what things are going to look like. And I think sometimes people do have a hard time focusing on themselves when they know that there is so much tragedy and trauma going on in the world. They really want to focus on others and do stuff for other people. And I think that's bold and noble. However, you cannot give to anybody from an empty cup. So until you are full and overflowing, then you really can't focus on other people in the way that you think you are. You think you're giving quality help and quality support, but you're really giving it from a place of deficit and a place of scarcity. So, in this quarantine time, being at home, being away from some of the things like, some of those basic self-care things like getting your nails done, getting your hair done, going to a movie, going shopping, going to a restaurant, all of those things are have been part of your self-care plan before, and now they're just gone. So what does it look like for me to focus on myself in quarantine? And how do I reconcile my emotions of, I'm a mom and I have to teach my kids and I have to cook and I have to check on my husband and my family members. I can't put myself first. Like, I can't do that. That would be selfish. And my idea is to really work on redefining the word selfish and kind of taking it back, kind of reclaiming it, because it doesn't have to have such a negative connotation. When we focus on putting ourselves first, then you are that much more able to help other people. So self-care at home, what can that look like? It can look like getting back to basics. Maybe taking a bath instead of a shower, I really do focus on functional self-care. So again, sometimes it is spa days and vacations and travel. We're not doing any of that stuff right now. So functional self-care are things like making your bed every day, doing your laundry and your household chores on a consistent basis. When our house starts to get cluttered and disorganized, that typically is a sign of what's going on within us. Our emotions, our mental health is a little off, is a little disorganized, so your environment is going to reflect that. So trying to keep tidy as much as you can. It might be difficult now because everybody's at home, I get it. So trying to do it as best as you can. It doesn't have to be spick and span, but try to pick up and, keep things organized as much as you can. That's a level of self-care as well. Carving out ways or creating the space for you to have some time alone, If it means going out to the front yard for 5 minutes every day and just sitting and just breathing in the fresh air, taking 5 deep breaths and coming back in the house. If it means taking a walk around the block. If you have a car, if it means driving around the block a few times or driving somewhere and coming back just to get a break and have some time for yourself. I've seen so many people having lunches or dinners or meals in their car, like a car picnic, instead of doing it in the house. And it is really re-scripting and doing some fun things. So thinking of all those things, all those self-care activities that you did before, how can you be creative and still try to do them now? You know, if it was a picnic, can you have a picnic in your yard? If you have a yard, if not, okay, well, let's do an indoor picnic, you know? If part of your self-care was your nail care and your hair care, finding out ways to do that at home. You know, I think the luxury of it is letting somebody else do it, of course. However, you know, you can kind of re-script that a little bit, or maybe if you have kids, you know, teaching them how to, they can paint your nails or they can, you know, play around and do your hair, like just really trying to be really creative with some of the self-care habits you were having and just kind of flipping them on their head, maybe doing some puzzles, doing some yoga. And yoga doesn't have to be a 90-minute yoga session on a Zoom or on a video. It can literally be like the basic stretches that you learn in PE class in the 5th grade. Like doing those basic, stretch your legs, stretch your arms, you know, touch your toes, like those basic things. Doing that in the morning when you first wake up, or doing it in the evening when you are about to go to bed. And that can really impact your sleep as well. Journaling, you know, and journaling again doesn't have to look like, dear diary, today it doesn't have to look like that. Because for some of us right now, your day looks the same every day because we're in our houses day in and day out. It can look like a list of things. It can look like gratitude. What am I grateful for today? I think gratitude is a huge part of self-care because oftentimes when we're kind of stuck in the muck, we have a hard time identifying things to be grateful for. And even now, and this kind of goes back to the conversation, what can I be grateful for when people are dying? Well, unfortunately, people were always dying. Like, people die. That's what happens. And if you can find some gratitude, then you can find gratitude now, you know? If you're a person who still is employed during this time, grateful that you're employed. If you're somebody who's working from home right now, grateful that you have all the resources that you need to work from home. If you are someone who lost their job, what is some gratitude you can find in that? Grateful that there's maybe a community food bank you can access. Grateful that there's friends and family there who can help support you. Like, trying to find gratitude. Even the smallest, I'm grateful that I don't have COVID, you know, I'm grateful that I'm healthy and I can breathe okay, and that, you know, I don't have any other types of challenges. Like, gratitude is an amazing part of self-care as well. Yeah.
So many goodies. A couple of years ago, when I was really trying to find gratitude in my life, in my new life, I actually completed this gratitude journal. And you did it a couple of minutes in the morning and a couple of minutes in the evening, and you write a couple of adjectives to describe who you are, what you want out of your day, and then you go back and you reflect. And I did it for an entire year, and over the course of that year, it was like, you know what? Not only is my life dope, but I'm pretty dope.
Yes.
You know, the fact that, like, not to toot your own horn or anything, but the fact that, like, I have a love for this, or I have a love for my child, or a love for this person, or just the ability to be a friend to this person, or just whatever it is, or just to have a God who cares about me. Like, you know, like, these are things that sometimes we take for granted, and you have to literally spell it out.
Yes.
You know, I've lost my father now, but to have a mother, like, I can tell my mom anything. I can call her, and, like, even sometimes when I'm busy and it's like, you know, I think about it's like, you know, one day I'm going to really miss seeing her name pop up on my phone.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that she just called me 20 times in 5 minutes. You know? Yeah, I think it's the small things, and I think this is a great time to be more mindful of those small things.
Yes.
We get so lost in the hustle and bustle and the busyness, and I think this is a great time to also, in addition to the picnics and reconnecting and taking a bubble bath. I love me a bubble bath with some candles and some Epsom salt. Girl,
yep, that's it.
That is where it's at. But it's like the perfect Friday night. But also things like planning out our life. I really try to function under the premise of making as little decisions as possible.
Okay. Yeah.
So for people who are trying to manage stress, because for people who've watched my other videos, managing stress is one of the main things that we have control over, especially during COVID. We have control over how we take care of ourselves.
Yep.
We have control over what we eat, how much we move.
Yep.
Yes, you might be a regular gym goer, but yeah, there's things like beachbody.com. There are countless free workouts, like real-time workouts on YouTube that are completely free. You need no equipment. You need no subscription, no money. Nothing. There's no excuse.
Right.
If you have a 3x5 foot square space, you can work out. You could just do jumping jacks every day.
Yeah.
I mean, just saying, go outside and jump rope. We have control over our stress. So if you are constantly having that television on, especially if it's on the news, turn that off.
You're not missing anything.
It's not going to help you. The news from 12 o'clock didn't change by 5 o'clock. We're all in the house. Nothing. There's no games. There's no sports on. What are you missing?
Right.
You better DVR some of that stuff. But then also taking time to read.
Yes.
How many people want to start a business? Almost every single human being I know of, at some point in time, they've mentioned, I want to start a business. I want to do this. This is the appropriate time. You're not commuting. Most of us, that's 2 hours back in most of our days.
Totally.
Why don't you devote those 2 hours to yourself versus, I'm going to just give it to, and get off of freaking Instagram and social media, TikTok.
Get off of Netflix,
Hulu, all of them. Just, I digress. Anyway, how do we refocus though? Because those things are like right in our faces.
Right.
And we have this perception of boredom, but how do you kind of reframe how you're thinking through this?
So yeah, I think that, so sometimes people can identify things like watching Netflix as self-care. And for some of us, sure, if you're able to kind of disconnect and, watch your favorite show, your favorite movie for a little bit, cool. Like that could be used as self-care. However, if you're using it as a way to distract yourself or, escape from certain things, then it's not necessarily self-care anymore. But I think a great way to refocus is to really kind of get back to what goals did you have in place for yourself at the beginning of the year, right? So yes, maybe this year is not going the way any of us predicted, but that might not mean that now everything on your list of goals is just incapable of accomplishing those goals. No, it might mean that I need to be a little bit more creative in how I go about what those goals are. So kind of go back and focus. If you had New Year's resolutions, if you have a vision board, if you had some things written out like your plan for the year, go back and revisit that and see how that can look now that we are living in the COVID era. What, almost like I was saying before, what was I working on before all this happened? And now that we've kind of gotten through the transition of it and we are starting to kind of settle in, so to speak, what can I do now to continue to put some energy towards those goals and focus on what I had set for myself, and also focusing on taking care of myself and pouring into myself instead of allowing my energy and my power to be given to Netflix, Instagram, social media in very unhealthy ways. I think it's really important too, related to stress management. A lot of the stress that we are dealing with is stress that's from our external environment, the TV, the news, everything that's going on outside of our homes, everything that's going on outside of our internal system. So when you start to focus on getting to peace and balance with your internal environment, meaning your thoughts, what you're eating, how much you're sleeping, your emotions, as well as the people in your home, you start to figure out how to get to a place of balance and peace with that through different self-care activities that can help you balance and manage some of that stress. Because guarantee, if you're sitting in front of a TV all day, listening to the radio or watching the news or listening to podcasts that are keeping you up to date with all the stuff going on, everything that the president said, you're bringing your external environment into your internal environment. And now you're bringing in more stuff that you feel like you have to deal with. I feel like I have to do something about this because it feels like it's right here in my home. And it's because you've invited it in your home, but you could also disinvite it. You can send it out. You can turn the TV off. You can stop listening to those podcasts. And I'm not saying completely disconnect, but so be aware, be educated on what's happening. But again, you don't have to check your phone every 20 minutes. You don't have to check the news, you know, every time there's some breaking news. You don't have to see what that is, because that's detrimental to your mental health and to your self-care.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely agreed. I mean, COVID has launched my entire YouTube. Seriously, I've halfway written an ebook. Yeah,
Nice.
YouTube.
Yeah, yeah.
Not about these games. Like, what? I've been praying for a moment to get some downtime.
Totally.
This is time. So, I mean, guys, I mean, and find what helps kind of center you. So,
Yeah,
what cleaning? For me, maybe I'm weird. Cleaning my house makes me feel really good.
yeah.
Sometimes I'll be frustrated. I'm sitting here,
Mhm.
you know, and
Right,
what I've
get
done is
some of
just
that energy out.
yeah, if the house is clean, I feel good. I've accomplished something that's a major
Right.
task for me. I've gotten all of that energy out. But then even like redecorating,
Mhm.
like I've probably done a lot of redecorating in my
Okay.
life.
Yeah.
But I think, just literally all of us, and those are just a couple of examples that I have done, but just finding that level of positivity.
Yes.
Oh, you know what? I've been wanting to organize the closets for forever. Or I've been wanting to learn how to play the guitar, or I have a piano and it's just
Or
sitting.
learning a new language.
Yeah, I want to learn Spanish,
Right.
French, Portuguese, whatever. It's like, yeah, go for it. So, what other ways can people help kind of change their mentality? Because there's a lot of this that is in their mind. It's the thoughts and the stories that we tell ourselves.
Right.
And so we can say these things and give some tools on what we do or what other people are doing to help get through this. But how do people make that switch in their mind? And also, I would love for you to expound a little bit more on the selfishness stigma that self-care has.
Sure, sure. So yeah, I think so. Another part of the work I do is really helping people become aware of the narratives that they have that are keeping them stuck. And a lot of the narratives that we have as adults, we pick them up along the way in our childhoods or through other experiences. And those narratives may have been appropriate and may have served us then, but they don't really serve us now. And so it's identifying what those narratives are, challenging them, and then replacing them with something new. So if you find yourself kind of going on this spiral of thoughts in your head, like if it's around anxiety or if it's like fear-based kind of stuff, then I think a really cool thing to do is to be able to check that thought and ask yourself, is this true? Like, is the thought that I'm having actually true? A lot of times it's like conjecture, or it's stuff that we've heard from the news or stuff that we've heard from somebody else, and it's not even a true thing. It's just like a fear-based like possibility, so to speak. And so checking in and seeing, like, is this thought that I'm so concerned about, is it true? I think another thing we can ask ourselves is, can I control this? So whatever the thought we're having, like if you're fearful about the virus, I get it, I understand it. However, asking yourself, I'm so afraid that I'm like almost paralyzed. Can I control the virus? No. So what can I control? Well, I can do it. I can social distance. I can, wash my hands, like all those kinds of things. So just allow yourself to kind of check your thoughts. And a lot of times we believe that all the thoughts that we have are facts, and a lot of times they're not. Our thoughts are not always facts. Our emotions are not always facts. So checking in and asking, is this true? Is this a fact? I think that can help you start to balance some of your thoughts. And again, it's not going to be you check in one time and now all your thoughts are amazing. No, this is a practice. It's an ongoing practice. I even have to do it myself sometimes when I'm feeling kind of anxious. I'm like, okay, what am I anxious about? Is that a true statement? Is it a fact? Can I change it? Can I control it? And then maybe I'll do something like some breathing or kind of changing my environment, meaning I'll go, instead of being upstairs, I'll go downstairs, or I'll open a window. Like those things can kind of help with those when you have that monkey mind kind of going around and around in your head. And then, so yeah, I think that can really help. And then also allowing yourself, I think it's great for people who are like, I'm going to start a business and I'm going to do all this. I'm going to do all this stuff that was on my list. That's awesome. And you can also rest. Like resting is also a thing that can happen, and it's fine. I'm taking next week, I'm not seeing any clients, and I'm resting in my house, like chilling in my bed, relaxing and resting and being okay with that, you know, because a lot of times we feel like, well, if I'm resting, then I'm not being productive, so I'm not really worthy, I'm not really doing, I don't deserve, I have to work really hard to deserve a break and rest. No, I think that's a narrative that needs to be rescripted as well. Yes. You being alive on this earth, that means you get to rest. That's it. You don't have to do anything to prove that you deserve rest. And so that kind of leads into the conversation around selfishness. You know, I think that selfishness, as we know, has such a negative connotation. And I always like to challenge that, because I don't think it's such a bad thing to be selfish. Like, why is it looked at that way? For me to save a little bit of something for myself, for me to save some of my own energy for myself, you know, for me to put aside these activities that are just for me, to make sure that I'm giving to myself, I'm pouring into myself. Because if we don't do that, we're going to depend on other people or other things to do that for us. And then we're always going to be caught up, you know. If we don't get consistently, or if we're not comfortable with pouring into ourselves and giving ourselves what we need first, then we're always going to be on a hunt to get it from somewhere else. And if we want to try to get that from other people, we're always going to be up and down, because we can't control people. Sometimes your husband might be in the mood to give you the attention that you need. Sometimes he might not, because he has his own stuff going on. So now you're sitting there looking upset because he's busy doing his own thing, and you're over here sad because he's not paying you attention. And I'm not saying that. So anything. So focus on your self-care and having your cup full. And anything that anybody else gives you is just extra. It's icing on top. Mm-hmm. So the answer, of course, is not to say like I don't need nobody and I can do it all on my own. I'm an independent woman. Sure, yes, you are an independent woman. And if anybody else wants to give you anything else, or love on you a little bit more, or give you attention, then that is just added to your cup that's already full. And so selfishness, I think we all need to kind of redefine what we mean by that, because to me, if the first thing I do in the morning is take 5, 10, 15 minutes for myself before my day starts, then that's what needs to happen. If I'm going to be this powerful woman, this powerful therapist who's giving up her time and giving up her energy, then my day has to start for me first and foremost. Mm-hmm. And if that means I might have to get up a little bit earlier, okay, sure. And people could think that's selfish. Like, how dare you, start your day without checking on somebody else first, or doing, well, you can think I'm selfish all you want to. I know what I have to do for me in order to keep my cup full, in order for me to show up as powerfully as I can. I have to put myself first and set those boundaries and honor those boundaries.
Girl, I'm with you 1,000,000%.
Yes.
I'm the same way, especially, when I was commuting to work, people were like, why do you wake up at 4 a.m.? Well, I have, for me personally, in my own value system, I have a hierarchy. And first, I need to spend time with God. So I wake up, I have worship, I have devotion. Yes. I have that before I even leave my bedroom. Mm-hmm. Then I need to take care of me.
Right.
And a couple of years ago, I was reading a book. I don't remember which one, because I read a lot of books. But it was the point was, how do you expect to ever grow something for yourself if you give yourself the last of everything? Absolutely. And so many of us, we hop out of bed, we get our kids up, we rush them to school, we go to work, we are exhausted by the time, half of us, and I know me, if half the time after work, especially in the wintertime, I don't want to go to the gym after work.
No.
Dark, it's cold, I want to be clean, under my comfy, nice comforter.
Yeah, cozied up.
With, something hot and chilling. Yeah. Going to sleep.
Right.
So, I don't want to do that. And so I know that these things are absolutely pivotal for my own success. Mm-hmm. So worship, I work out, I work on my business first thing in the morning before I ever go give any employer an ounce of my energy.
Yes.
I've already given it to myself first.
Right. Yes.
And I don't think it's selfish. I have a child that I am raising. I have a legacy that I am building for her. I ain't got time for this. My employer is not thinking about that.
No, they're not.
So if I don't do it, and if you guys don't do it,
Sure.
who is going to do it?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and I think that sometimes people misinterpret scripture and other historical books to
Hmm.
validate why they think selfishness is bad. But
Sure.
I don't think
Yeah.
that selfishness is in itself a bad thing. Like even the Bible says, you know, your cup runneth over. Like even David felt like his cup was depleted and asked for his cup to run over.
Right.
He needed to replug. He
Mhm.
needed to, you know what, let me regroup. Let me get myself together. Lord, give this to me so
Yeah.
I can get myself together and I can go back there and shine.
Hmm.
But selfishness, in my opinion, is when it is so much about yourself that it harms others.
Right.
That's when I think it's a problem.
Hmm.
But you taking the view off of somebody else for a certain period of time is not necessarily a bad thing for them either. Some people might just their ego might be a little
Yeah,
deflated
and
for a
that's
little bit.
their issue.
But yeah, that's
Right.
them. Like you gotta you're responsible for you, boo.
Exactly. And another way to look at it too is like all of the self-care habits that you do, imagine that those are deposits into your emotional bank account, right? So every time you do something for yourself, whether it's first thing in the morning or whether it's throughout the day or at nighttime if you're a night owl, anytime you do something for yourself, that's an emotional deposit into your bank account. Really, anytime anytime somebody does something awesome and nice for you, that's another deposit. However, imagine how amazing it would feel when you start your day with your emotional bank account already full. You already start your day in the black instead of in the red, you know? And my grandfather told me, he always said, pay yourself first. So every time I had a job, make sure you set aside money for your savings account first and foremost. And that's the way I think about self-care. When I do a self-care habit, that's another deposit into my emotional bank account, first and foremost, every day.
I love it. Love it,
Yeah.
love it, love it. Yeah, you got to. I mean, I think that also what you just said, you taking that ownership, it also kind of takes the pressure off of everybody else to give you that
Mhm.
type of affirmation and that type of love. You know, some people come across as like super needy, like super like,
Yeah.
oh, I need all of this stuff. I need you to save my whole life. No, boo, go save yourself.
I can teach you how to save yourself. Yes.
Yeah,
Um,
I will give you the tools. I will talk you
right.
through it. I will talk you off that ledge.
Hmm.
But I'm trying to save myself. I I got a little tiny mini life raft. Like I mean, I don't think that that's selfish at all. So in that vein, how do we balance the time that we give to ourselves versus the time we give to our spouse or our family or our children or our church or Girl Scouts, whatever it is? Like how do you balance that?
Yeah, so for me, I think that also does go back to trying as much as you can to give and be with other people from the overflow of your self-care. And again, it doesn't mean you have to do 25 million things every day. Like if your cup can feel overflowed from, doing a 10-minute meditation in the morning or, going to the gym or eating a healthy meal or making sure you're getting enough water or making sure you're sleeping enough. So I think it's really just reminding yourself that you are going to show up your most powerfully and give the best of yourself when you are connected to yourself and you're consistently plugging in and doing things that are going to be best to fill up your bank account, right? Your emotional bank account. And I think balancing that between family and spouses and church and other responsibilities, I think that is going to kind of always be kind of always a dance. I think it's great to schedule some stuff. A lot of our lives are scheduled anyway. Like you schedule your work, you schedule your hair appointments, your gym time. And a lot of times we're afraid, a lot of couples are afraid to schedule date nights. They're afraid to schedule, sex on their calendars because it's not romantic. Well, if every part of your life is scheduled and you're giving energy to those things that are scheduled, then those other things that are not scheduled, a lot of times they don't get the same energy. Like things are falling off. And so it's okay to create a schedule. Like You know, this is going to be the time that me and my partner spend together. We're going to spend family time. Like Friday nights is family time. Wednesday and Tuesday night is church time. Like whatever that looks like. I really do think getting a clear idea of a plan or a weekly schedule can kind of help with that balance. And also understanding that it might need to change from time to time, like every season, or when the kids pick up a new hobby or a new sport, then we might need to go in and kind of change things up. And also being okay with saying no. Like, you know what? Mommy needs some me time. Mommy needs to be alone, you know, or telling your partner, no, I don't want to go have dinner with the Jacksons. I'm making stuff up. You can go have dinner without me, or let's reschedule with them, you know, and being okay with that, being okay to honoring how you feel and communicating that. And not, it doesn't have to mean again that you're a bad mom or you're a bad wife. It just means you're honoring how you feel in that moment. And it's completely okay to do that, because balance is an ongoing thing. It's not, I don't think anybody's ever like, okay, I'm completely balanced. Because as soon as you say that, something else comes up and it's like, dang, now we got to figure out how to fit this in. And so it's always kind of a work in progress. But again, if you can start with a full cup, or as full as possible, then I think everything else can kind of flow a little bit more effortlessly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this goes back. Make as little decisions as possible. I know it sounds horrible to say it out loud like that, but if you think about some of the most wealthiest people in the world, they will all tell you they have a very strict schedule,
Yes.
and very many of them they wear the same thing over and over and over. They take the decision making process out of their life, and it helps mitigate their stress.
Absolutely.
They can give their energy to the things that matter.
And you know what to expect. Like, you know what to expect.
Yeah.
Okay, on Wednesday night, it's family whatever night. So all the kids and everybody knows, be at the house, be here at this certain time, because this is family. Like, it takes so much of that extra energy on trying to figure stuff out and plan stuff. It takes it out, and you can put that energy elsewhere. Yep.
Got time for it. I mean, it's, you know, it's a healthy priority. One of my favorite books in the world is called The Best Yes by Lisa Turquist. And in the book, she talks about having a willing spirit and wanting to do so much. You want to be involved in this, and this sounds cool over here, and I want to do this and this and this. But when it comes to the stuff that you know that you should be doing, you're so overwhelmed and so stretched that you cannot possibly even think about taking on the most minuscule thing, because it's going to send you off the deep end.
Yes.
So, you know, I think that's something that we all have to continue to strive to learn and build. Like you said, you know, read these books. There's so many books that are out there that will help you master this craft, because it is indeed a craft. It's not something I think any of us are, you know, we just pop out the womb knowing how to do. You have to practice it. So with that being said, I want to kind of go back to one last thing that you said earlier. You mentioned fear. And I want to ask you, how important is faith for people who are people of faith? How important is it really? And I mean, yeah, some people can say, oh, faith is like not really a real emotion. It's a construct, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I've heard all the different arguments, but I think that there's some power in tapping into that. So what role does that have in self-care?
So I think faith has a really powerful role in self-care. In that, you know, when I think about faith, the other words that come up for me are belief, are trust, are knowing that things are going to happen the way they need to happen without you having to actually have like hardcore data in front of you to prove that it's going to happen, right? So again, it's that faith, it's that trust that everything is going to work out in the way it needs to. And so that, in my mind, what's coming up for me right now is having faith that you taking out this 10 minutes, this 15 minutes, this whatever amount of time it is for you, having faith that you using the word no as a complete sentence and honoring your boundaries, or using the word yes as a complete sentence and honoring your boundaries, having faith and trust that you honoring your voice and honoring what you need in that moment as it relates to doing things you need for you, that everything else in your life is going to work out. So the kids are going to get to the practice. The husband's going to husband. He's going to do whatever he's doing. You know, you're going to feel fulfilled. Everything is going to work out in the way it needs to. So having faith, again, that you pulling back some of your power and using it for yourself first will kind of explode onto everything else that you're working on and make it flow that much more effortlessly, especially for those people who are really new to self-care. They may do it here and there, but now they're really wanting to do it more consistently, and they're struggling with the idea of time. Like, I have this amount of time allotted for this, and this, and now I have to take some time for myself. Will I still have time to do everything else? Having faith that the answer is yes, you'll have more than enough time, and you'll have more than enough energy to do all those things because you've started with putting yourself first. And so that's where I think faith has a huge role. And again, trusting that, having faith in your voice, and having faith in, that you know what you need for yourself, I think is a big part of it as well. Like knowing that I need to sleep in today, or I need to have a salad instead of that burger, or I need to drink more water, or I need some fresh air. Like whatever those your intuition comes up and says to you, having faith that that is guiding you in the appropriate direction.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yes.
With it. Let's do it. I think ultimately we know what we need to do. Sometimes we just talk ourselves out of it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yep.
Go with the flow. And I try to tell myself all the time, you've gotten through worse situations. Mm-hmm. Like all these other things, like major life things. It's like, if you can survive that and you can rebound from that.
Yes.
Girl, sky is the limit. This is a very temporary, even if it does not happen the way that you expect it to happen,
right?
It is going to be okay. Mm-hmm. It's going to be okay. Even if I'm on the street somewhere in my car, it's going to be okay. And so, yeah, we have to going back to the very, very beginning of what the very first thing you said, being grateful. Mm-hmm. That's what this all boils down to, being grateful and taking care of your temple, taking care of the resources that you have.
Absolutely.
And moving forward.
Yep. That's it. That's the key.
That's the key. I got the key. Okay. Anyway. All right, guys. Erica, such a pleasure. I always enjoy chatting with you.
Yes.
So thank you so much for being here and giving such wonderful advice. I know that you're going to really change somebody's life. And thank you for the work that you do for the community. So,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Anytime. So I'll see you later.
Yes, see you later.